Audio. Good to go.
Oh no! Are we good on audio now?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to State of the Nerd Union. We decided to not repeat the problem we had previously about the audio. I'm joined tonight by Kenneth Ship. Steve is out this week just because he's had just a busy week and he's taken a week off, and we want to make sure people have time to rest, especially after the doozy of last year that we had.
Yeah, and it's
Thank
Monday back.
goodness.
It's Monday back after a holiday. It's like, yeah.
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 We're all still catching up on stuff. We're all have like food coma still going on, the usual. But yeah, so glad 2020 is over. We're glad to be into 2021. Kenneth, how are you feeling about this transition of a year?
I'm gonna believe it when I see it. I mean, I'm determined to make this year better for myself, but I also there's nothing that has made the years feel better to start off. So I had a pretty good New Year's night, but other than that, there's nothing that's like, and it just feels like I hope people weren't on that train because I don't. I didn't get the ticket to that. Can it come back to my station, pick me up?
Yeah.
Can I throw $100 at that station? I'll do that.
Yeah. Well, that actually brings me to something I did want. We're talking about discussing this tonight. So one of the things that was good at the start of this year is that there were some really great sales on GameStop.com. So I, for one, took advantage of the fact that Persona 5 Royal was on sale for like $25. There's also, Final Fantasy VII Remake is on sale for like $30. Like, there's a lot of new games that are on sale for like $30 or less right now. And I think that sale ends on the 12th. So if you guys want to go check that out, you should definitely go do that. We're going to try to do a better job of letting you guys know when we see deals for stuff, because who doesn't need good deals on movies and games and comics and whatnot?
Also, if you love PS3 and 360, you should be buying games. I mean, I'm not a huge GameStop fan, but if you want to take advantage of some cheap shit, they had a buy one get one over the weekend, just on Xbox 360 and PS3 games, which is insane. Like 1 for 1.
Yeah.
That is not 2 for 1, not 3 for 1, 1 for 1. Like, they are really trying to clear that out and just be on and also there's Wii U included with that if people want to get on Wii U. But yeah, so then they're really just trying to narrow it down to the Switch, PS4, 360, Xbox One, and then obviously the next gen stuff when it starts to come out. So.
Right. Yeah, they've also got a sale going on right now where I think it's like you can buy 4 games that are $14.99 or less or something like that for $30, and I think most of those games will qualify under that too. So go take advantage of that. So if you're looking for something good way to,
it's 4
yeah,
4 for 30, which is also dumb. It's like
So if you're looking for a good way to start your year and you haven't found it yet, go check that out, because that's what I did, and I'm excited to play Persona 5 for the first time. So
if you have other deals that we're not aware of, let us know. And if you're like, we don't want to support GameStop, cool. We'll find.
Yeah, we understand that.
We'll find other ones. We'll find some better ones for you.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of one of the next points that we want to talk about. So for those of you who are, which I probably will be in your ranks soon, tomorrow on Spotify, you'll be able to find a number of Persona soundtracks, which is, from what I hear, is amazing. I've heard a few tracks from Persona 5, and they sound awesome. So let's see. The ones that are going to be on Spotify as of tomorrow will be the Persona 5 original soundtrack, Persona 4 and the golden version of that soundtrack, the one for Persona 3, Persona 2, but also they'll have the music from Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Nevermore Reincarnation from Persona 4, the vocal sound collection from Persona 3 and 4, and I don't know what PQ and PQ2 OST are actually, or that was not correct grammar, but both of those, I'm not exactly sure what those are, but those will all be on there as well.
Okay, so no love for Devil Summoner or Nocturne or...
No, it doesn't look like they're going to have that, but I know that they're remaking Nocturne, so maybe that'll come out when Nocturne comes out. Oh, you didn't know that?
When did that nugget drop?
That was a while ago, yeah.
That's my fave. I just rebought it because I dumbly... I'm kicking... If for the collectors out there, you know how dumb this is. I got rid of PS2... I got rid of some of my PS2 RPGs. So if you know the cost on those right now, you know how dumb of a decision that was, and trying to go get some of those back. No. So yeah, Nocturne. I love Nocturne. I think it's a lot of fun. So yeah, if they do a remake of that, I will be on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one that's getting remade right now. So yeah, there's a trailer out for it. Go check it out. It's pretty cool looking. What else? So, speaking of more PlayStation stuff, so if you were thinking about getting a PlayStation 4 at some point or other, you need to do it now because while this is rumor, it's pretty much confirmed from what official listings were saying. The PlayStation 4 has entered a stage of no more non-production. They are ceasing to produce the consoles of any variety of PlayStation 4, I guess because they're focusing hard on the PlayStation 5, which this is a little bit sooner than I thought they'd be doing that, honestly, given the lack of availability of the PlayStation 5. I mean, maybe this is a way for them to remedy that, but still, like...
Well, I mean, it just, you know, during the summer, during the pandemic, because I repair stuff, that was good for me when they stopped selling... You know, there was like the Last of Us Pro console that came out, so it was like Last of Us skinned. I think I don't think... There might not have been a Ghost of Tsushima one. I feel like there was one more during the summer. So, like, that was, like, so they've been available. You get into 2020, 2020 kind of starts, and then Sony's like, yeah, we're not really going to, like, aside from these bundles, like, we're not really going to release anymore. So, like, Best Buy and other people's, like, stock started to kind of dry up a little bit. But at that point, they were still making them. They just weren't sending any out. So I'm assuming what you mean is, like, everything else, anything that was left in the warehouse is starting to get sent out, and they're not gonna make anymore. So yeah, if you're a PS4 owner, that kind of sucks because I guess Sony just assumes any support they're gonna give is for the current install base. So like, if anybody makes a PS4 game right now or makes a compatible game, it's got to be for the numbers that are on the books right now. Because it's like, why would you? You know, I mean, I guess it could just signal like not being comfortable. Like if I were a developer getting ready to make another game, and I started hearing that, I'd be like, oh, okay, well,
yeah, that's going to make developers really hesitant to make stuff for the PS4 because they're making games for a console that's not being made. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty shifty, but like, I don't know the developer side of like how it is to try to design for the PS5 either.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, the Xbox is a little easier. But not by like some, you know, even that could be like maybe I need to go look a little further and then I'll find 10 more other people that have said that the PS5 is more, it's just as easy, to, you know. So like I think because Xbox did a similar, you know, to be fair, Xbox did a similar thing during the summer. Like the Xbox One X's were all of a sudden not on sale. You can still find some S's. You can find some
yeah, that's true.
Some S's on there, which is weird to me because like. If any console you should want to like be buffered with the Series S and X, it'd be the One X. Like, okay, that one can actually hang. I was like, okay, got a One X and then Series X. Okay, that can hang for a little bit. If that was still around for 4 years, I'd be like, no, that makes sense. Because that thing's not a piece of junk. I still have mine in one of my rooms because I still can use it. I can switch back and forth to it. I mean, I often play my Series X.
But here's the other here's the other interesting part of that though. Can you think about the backwards compatibility in the ecosystem? I wonder how much that affects it too. Because I guess technically they could still design for the PS4, but then have it be played on the PS5
and just get the down.
But but I'm not really sure what the online store looks like for that. Like, do you buy PS4 games on? You have a PS5. Like, do you buy PS4 games on the PS5?
Well, but remember, I still buy physical. So store usage.
But is that an option that you have?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can buy PS4 games on the PS5 store. Or I mean, obviously still the Sony store, but yeah, you'll have that. Yeah, you have that option. Now, something that's interesting about the compatibility, and Cold War has been the best example of this, and I have to give Xbox the nod here on the compatibility of downloading something and it knowing that this is a PS5 or a PS4 Pro or a regular PlayStation. Now, you may not think that's that hard to do, but when you're trying to, like, I want to play Call of Duty Cold War. Wait, why is it saying I need 250 gigs of space? Now, I know some people may have batted an eye at that just because how ridiculous things have gotten, but it's not that bad yet. So the Cold War storage is 134 gigs, which isn't great. Like, that sucks. But, it's like, okay, all right. But sometimes the PS5 doesn't know that it's downloading to a PS5. It thinks it's on a PS4, or it tries to give you, so when you get to when you start seeing a 250 number, it tries to give you both. And you're like, why? What are you doing? Right? And you don't even have the option to opt out of it. If you don't catch it, it's like some people are going to catch it and be able to get some of it out in the download. So it does download a separate file. So if you can catch it, cool. But if you don't know, and it just starts downloading, and you're like, why am I getting two versions of the file? So,
how did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know. Someone didn't tag something right somewhere. Now, to be fair, I'm not saying I've never had. So I have noticed an issue on Xbox regarding where I store my games. It doesn't like it when I leave something stored on my external hard drive as opposed to the Series X hard drive. Sometimes it's like, I don't necessarily see that as a Series X game. So I try to leave my Series X games, and so far I haven't got to anything where I really have to move them off from the internal. But there was one point where because my internal was still set as my first place to install, so it accidentally put the Series X stuff there. And then when I was like, wait, this doesn't look really that good. I'm like, it hasn't downloaded the patch. As soon as I put it back on the hard drive for the Series X, it recognized and picked it up and then did the smart delivery correctly to that file. So that's more of a little quirk, whereas other times I've installed, I had no issue of recognizing what the game was and doing stuff. Right. PS5 does, been widely reported. Some folks have gotten why is my memory maxed out? It's like,
yeah. That's really got me wondering what that's going to look like for the transition on the Xbox side as well, because as far as I know, they're still producing not Series X, Xbox One S. Gosh, their names are confusing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Xbox One S. Yeah,
that actually probably needs to be one of our first skits.
Or we trying to sell consoles.
We get that on a shirt. Just be like X1 Series X, X1 2, X 720.
It'll be like thing 1, thing 2, but it'll be like Xbox shirts. But yeah, I don't really know what their plan is as far as when they're going to stop producing older consoles. But their entire ecosystem seems a whole lot more friendly to older consoles, like older console gen games and such. I was thinking about the fact that I can do stuff on my computer, or you can do it on the Xbox Series S or X, or you can do pretty much literally every single game that's actually out. Yeah, all of them can go back to the One S right now. Mm-hmm. So I don't see them doing that same kind of move, but it really makes me wonder what this next year is going to look like as far as games that are announced, games that are in development. Are they really just trying that hard to push people over to the PS5 right now? Which is interesting given the availability of the console is so low. So I'm not sure what the plan is there, but we'll have to see what Sony does over the next year in regards to that. So all of you Office fans out there, you may be still sad, like the rest of us, that there's no more Office and we don't get to see any of the shenanigans of the Dunder Mifflin crew. There's a new cold open that got released that has to do with Dwight and the Matrix. And I'm not really going to tell you too much of what happens in it, but you can just Google The Office, Dwight, The Matrix, and you will find a plethora of articles that have the YouTube video focus. We'll post the YouTube video on our page after this as well. But it's pretty doggone funny. It's just like a 5-minute cold open of an interaction that has to do with Dwight and The Matrix, and I laughed a lot watching it. And it just reminded me of old times watching that show. So if you're a fan of that, you definitely need to go check that out.
Yeah. I don't know who's running the NBC Peacock account on YouTube, but they're doing a pretty good job, I have to admit. Mm-hmm. I keep coming across different Parks and Rec and Office clips now since they've been trying to push the service. I can get on a Law and Order rabbit hole. And I'm like, oh, they did what? And they and I'm like, oh shit, it's like I'm watching the show. No, get me out of it. Get me out of here.
Yeah, the Peacock has done I feel like they've done a really good job with their whole streaming service. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I'm a lot more interested in it than I initially figured I would be.
I still think it's one too many.
For sure.
We're gonna have to have a streaming bubble conversation because.
There's a lot out now.
Yeah, I honestly feel like we should just pick 10 shows and if you wanted to watch these 10 shows, how much would you have to pay to do it? Assuming you don't already own them. And like, well, this one's on this service. That one's over here. And that one's over here. All right. So now your bill's $150. You're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like right now, I'm trying to think. So on my PlayStation right now, I have Disney Plus installed, Netflix, Hulu, Funimation, Crunchyroll, CBS All Access, and Peacock. That's a lot. And they're all for different shows or movies.
Exactly. The only
like none of them. There's no crossover.
Yeah. There was in the early days when it was just Hulu, Netflix, and then.
Yeah.
See, honestly, that's really what the problem is that people. Actually, gosh, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Disney Plus and the Fox merger, as it stands right now, has not been as detrimental to the ecosystem as I thought it was going to be. Now,
okay, you can leave. Get Bizarro Kenny out of here.
Hold on. Here's what I mean. Disney still has the capability to mess all that up. They have it because, to be fair, they started vaulting the Fox stuff and movies there. They didn't want to really put it on the Disney Plus platform. And that's then when people were like, we don't have anything to watch aside from Mandalorian and kids movies, like after my child has watched Frozen for 100th time, which I already own the DVD to, I can't why am I paying X amount for why is that I am as an adult paying this much for So then the Simpsons and things started coming out on that, and now more sitcoms and things are coming out on it. So it's but a lot of those are still available on Hulu, which is why I'm saying it hasn't necessarily disrupted the ecosystem from the for people that aren't interested in Disney Plus. Plus, the bundle. I hate this. I can't believe they make me say it. The bundle also has not disrupted because it's we can also let you have Hulu as well. It may not sound like a big deal, but that is a rather big deal.
Right.
No, but CBS and NBC being straight up studios taking their content off of those platforms. AMC a while back, you can still watch The Walking Dead on other platforms. You could watch the AMC service, but it's not a requirement. Whereas CBS and NBC now are making it Office has to be on Peacock. Battlestar's getting moved. There's other Universal Studio stuff getting put on there. It's you gotta have that. And when that happens, and it's it's not like Miss Mavel on Amazon. That's one show that started on that on Amazon Prime. It's not Jack Ryan. Cool. Those are cool shows, but you don't I would not call them staples of TV. Whereas The Office, it's
pretty central. Yeah. It's pretty iconic. Although I think 30 Rock is still on Netflix too, so.
For now.
For now. But we'll have to see what that happens. But Peacock's free at least, so there's that.
Well.
Oh no.
Let me push my glasses up. Well, actually, it's free to a point. If you notice as you get further into the seasons, a paywall suddenly appears. I
haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah. So I do think it depends on the show. So there might be some that are so short it's a freebie on the site. So that could be I haven't gotten that far, but there are some that it's so just take The Office. If you want to finish The Office, you're gonna have to eventually pay for Peacock.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
But if nothing else, the cold open about The Matrix is free for everybody. So we'll see. But speaking of TV shows that we're looking for, WandaVision is coming out next Friday. So for anybody who's been really wanting to know what's happening next after the whole Thanos saga and was not necessarily appeased by that in Spider-Man, you'll get to see the next glimmer of what the Avengers are doing after that. I'm not sure who all is going to show up in that show. We've had various rumors. I think Doctor Strange theoretically is showing up in that show at some point too. But that show premieres on next Friday. It's going to be like The Mandalorian where they release week by week. And you can fully expect us to be talking about it after it comes out because we'll have opinions one way or another. And we'll be loud about them. So, because that's what we do.
Me and Tom were talking yesterday about what am I excited about next year. And while there's not really a Marvel property that I'm ooh, I'm so excited about this. But I am just generally interested, how do you move forward after the Avengers are effectively?
Yeah.
It's a different team. Like there will be an Avengers team, but it's different. It's fundamentally different. And then it's like, how are these shows going to play out? How exhausted am I going to be trying to keep up with show details going into movies?
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about that. But yeah, hopefully they knock this out of the park and proves it works, and then I'll feel a lot better for like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki and Hawkeye, and what if their animation's have been getting better. I know DC's been kicking our ass the last couple of years, but their animation's been getting better. So I think What If will be fine anyway. But
I will say it does give them a good opportunity for them to put a spotlight on some of these characters who have been minor characters that people won't be as interested in without having as much financial investment put into it. And that's a plus for sure. It's a plus on Disney Plus.
Oh, God.
But yeah, like, I don't necessarily know if I would have gone to see a movie specifically about Loki without a lot of reviews ahead of time. But now that it's like, this show's going to be on Disney Plus as part of your membership, I'm like, okay, yeah, then I'll for sure watch that. Like, definitely.
Yeah. Because I've advocated for a long time that as much as I love the Avengers, having grown up on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, I can recall so many shorter stories that are like, they weren't big arcs in the season, but they were like, we're going to focus on this character and have Batman team up with them for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like some of those characters having a full show wouldn't make sense, but you have this opportunity to pop them in and out of the TV universe in a way that you just couldn't. That's why I also liked the Netflix, like Luke Cage and Defenders and then Jessica Jones and all that, because again, hosting their own movie may have been a stretch. I think it's still going to work, but like franchise would have been a little weird.
Right.
But it also, again, those shows got to throw in different villains and side characters and things that we just wouldn't have gotten to enjoy otherwise. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a good move on Marvel's part. I'm excited to see where their TV directions go, and we'll give more feedback for you after we get a chance to see it next week. And the news of other TV shows that people are probably either excited about, or I've never seen just simply excited about this show. Actually, there's like pretty like a humongous fandom. For those who like Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor may be getting a regeneration soon. We've seen a lot of rumors that seem to, from what we can research, they seem to be pretty fair rumors. That's, oh my gosh, I just like spaced out on her name.
Jodie Whitaker.
Jodie Whitaker, yeah. That she's leaving the show. They have not, Jodie Whitaker and the studio have both not necessarily confirmed that detail. They're both not talking about it. And the next season is still in production and she'll be a part of the next season. But there's been rumor that they've been preparing for a regeneration of the Doctor around the end of this or at the beginning of the next season. So fair warning. We don't really know the full story on why that's happening, but Doctor Who's got some really good plot lines in there. So I fully trust that they can write that well. There's also some really bad ones. There are. I find the show interesting, if nothing else. Like, it always holds my attention when I watch it.
Oh, gosh. I'm not going to spend the time making my disdain of Doctor Who right now. Because it's actually not well documented on this channel or in our articles, but people that have
I don't know if we can have that conversation on the channel.
Yeah, we just don't need to have that right
We just don't talk about it usually. But
I guess I've been curious if Jodie was exhausted from the fandom, because I know they're in that Star Wars fan territory of just like having some awful toxicity. So again, it's like we talked about. It's okay to not like something, but you need to be introspective on why you don't like it. If you start coming up with a list of reasons that are basically misogynistic, like that's an issue. Yeah. I may like Doctor Who, but that started well before Jodie Whittaker got on the scene, so that probably wasn't going to change. But,
and when we talk about things like that, we mean like kind of like the stuff with Rey. Like, people had an issue with Rey being able to lift up all those boulders at the end of the movie with like a little bit of training, but they didn't have an issue with Grogu being able to lift up a charging boar without knowledge of any training on his end.
Exactly. Thank you.
Stuff like that.
Thank you.
Yes, I said that.
If
you want to debate us about that,
makes you sus.
Yes. And we are welcome to hear the debate. We love conversations with our viewers about that, so you can let us know in the comments, and we'll talk about that sometime. But we just want to apply it across fairly, and we don't necessarily feel like people get the fair credit when that comes to it all the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're always going to side against you. Sometimes people bring up points that we hadn't talked about, and we're like, oh yeah, that is a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But like, we do want people to think about this. Critique matters, and it's important. We want to have good quality content. It's probably why The Mandalorian is so good, like, because they paid attention to the feedback and have been doing good things with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or as a vision that was scripted out, well across 8 episodes. But I'm also just damn right. All right, stop.
Kenny's got some opinions about stuff that I don't have, but it's all right.
I have to go back to the thread and go win that argument.
Actually, this next point is something you should talk about because you're pretty excited about this, about the Psychonauts.
Oh, no. Yes. We did not really know when Psychonauts 2 was going to happen, but it is going to release in 2021. It might be a little bit later in 2021, maybe like a fall kind of release, but it is going to happen. And the developers also talking about, like, well, we're not going to have to put in kind of crunch to get that done. So it sounds like even with the pandemic this year, they were able to get a lot of it done, and it looks like they're hitting the check marks that they need to. If you have not played the original Psychonauts, it's more widely available now than it ever has been. Like you can go get it like from Steam and different platforms like that. So definitely go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Should have got more attention when it came out the first time. Trying to get a physical copy is getting more difficult, but yeah, definitely have some digital ways to go play it. And then I hope the second one is great. I hope I can play it and give you high marks on it. And then if it is, go support it, because this is a good mid-major title. I think as I would put it. It's like, it's not a Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima AAA title, but it's like this is a small group that came together and made this before it became big. So yeah, Psychonauts.
When Kenny saw the trailer or found out they were doing a first one when we were on another show, like, he was really excited about it too. I think it was on like the PlayStation one. So this is going to be a shorter show this week. There just wasn't a ton going on, and it's the new year, so it makes sense that there's not necessarily a ton going on. But we wanted to end on some Star Wars stuff because there's some interesting things happening in the Star Wars world right now. So, as you guys know, they've been expanding the Star Wars universe in various show and media contents, but what hasn't been really getting a lot of attention from anybody that we've seen is the High Republic. And for those of y'all who don't know, the Star Wars High Republic is a time period that sets 200 years before the end of the Skywalker saga and about 800 years after the fall of the Old Republic. This saga is supposed to be focused on, like, the Jedi in their prime, I think is how they stated it. But about it is it's going to be told across like movies, or not movies, it's going to be told across a medium of books and comics, and I think they even said some magazines at some point or another. Yeah, so it's going to be primarily in written form. I don't really know if they're ever going to do anything beyond that, but it's a lot of canon backstory that's going to be taking place in written form, and it's really going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It's an era that hasn't really been explored at all. None of the Jedi that we know of, like, from this either saga, will be in it besides Yoda, and maybe some immortal dark side nonsense happening because that exists. But I'm not going to say who that is for those of y'all that don't know who I'd be talking about. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting seeing that, but we wanted to mainly talk about like the expansion of the Star Wars universe and then how they've been expanding and exploring various timelines and whatnot. I really like getting an opportunity to see Star Wars being focused on anybody that's not the Skywalkers, honestly, because I'm personally really tired of hearing about the Skywalkers. It's part of why I like Mando so much. Because there's other big characters and big things that have happened in this universe that matter. And it's going to be great to see not only the backstory for how what we know historically has been set up, but also what seeds they lay out that they can expand upon for like post Skywalker saga as well.
Yeah. Not trying to not make a criticism about the sequel trilogy, but it just makes me feel well, no. But I think this is fair, is that, and Lucas has talked about this, and when you look at the trilogy, or when you look at the prequels and the original trilogy as a whole, regardless of how much he had planned out or not, there is some good symmetry there So you see a fall and you see a rise and redemption. So it's not nice little bow.
Right.
So if you're gonna touch that, you really need to make sure like what are you gonna go into next. So if there's any criticism, I would say is like, yeah, this didn't necessarily justify touching that as a completed arc. You know, it's like people might feel like you could relating Death Note to Star Wars, but Death Note fans know that regardless of how you feel about the death of of L, that did like it may have been the protagonist winning over him, but that would have been a nice bow. It still would have been a nice you know, you might have been as a viewer might have been wrestling with the fact that who's it? But what we get after it is not satisfying. It doesn't feel like it justifies its existence next to that wrapped arc.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the cool thing about High Republic, it's fresh territory to go into, and you know you don't have to worry about the canon to a degree, right? It's like obviously there's certain hallmarks you still need to reply to or respect, but there's certain things you can be like, well, we can't introduce that because that wasn't there yet, but we can still have some fun in this time period. You know, look at Star Trek Discovery right now being 900 years in the future, and what benefits that's paying off for it as a series. Are there still things they have to respect canon from things that happen in Star Trek? Yes, but it also means they're so far in the future that they can have a lot of freedom.
Pretty much do what they want.
And because of how far apart it's set, also it means that it kind of eliminates to your Skywalker concern, which is super valid. It's like that cannot happen. I don't want to hear about a great idiot, which you shouldn't have to worry about because of how Anakin was born anyway. But I don't need any of that nonsense. You don't have to show me like if there's another Yoda creature, that's not gonna really mess me up. But it's like it doesn't need to be Yoda. Doesn't have to be there.
He is gonna be there though. Like that's already confirmed. Well, he should be there though.
I'm kidding. No,
logically speaking, he should.
Because of the time for yes, that makes sense. Yeah. Sorry, I just.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting to me, I think, is getting the chance to see, yes, the high points of the Jedi, but also the seeds of arrogance when they start getting that planted. I want to hear those stories about how they became so proud that they could messed up so hard. And it's going to be really great to see a lot of that because I feel like it'll be both a rise and a fall story at the same time.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. That's a good point. You know, when people were like trying to praise the prequels more than or at least in the past, I was not listening to that, and I'm like, yeah, space politics and decadence and tragedy is not necessarily the best formula, or those are interesting concepts. I wouldn't say necessarily blended together well in the prequels, but now that I appreciate them a little bit more, and especially with watching the Clone Wars. Because I think Clone Wars even does a better job of like, here's what the prequels are about. Got it.
Yes.
Now let's expand on that. We're gonna have some weird stories about the Force. We're gonna get into more of the Jedi's end of like, what is the structural reasons why we got to, you know, you're talking more about how they got to that point. But this one is like, they're in the thick of it. These are the problems, and it's suffocating.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely love to see High Republic get into that kind of lead up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also really curious about how much of that 200-year period they're going to explore. Like, are they going to get into Darth Plagueis territory, or not Plagueis? Yeah, Plagueis. Are they going to get into this territory where Darth Plagueis exists? Like, are they going to talk about that some? Are they going to do like, for those of you that have played Jedi Fallen Order, are they going to talk about like the Zepho and Dathomir and all that stuff and the dark side things going on that planet? Like, are we going to get to explore some of the history there? Like, there's a lot that happens before the prequels that a lot of stories from the prequels lean upon, and I wonder how much of that we're going to get to actually see. And I'm excited about that. But I also really want to see them plant stuff, and this is the thing that I'm probably the most excited about. I want to see them plant seeds for post-Skywalker saga stuff. Like, I want them to be able to expand past that, because Star Wars has never, ever, ever, ever been able to expand past anything that has to do with the Skywalkers in that time period.
Yeah.
And I want that. I want to see it. But right now, as it stands, we don't really have a whole lot of lore for them to pull from, so this might be a good way to set a lot of that up.
We'll see.
Kenny is skeptical.
Just because it goes back to that bow we just talked about. Like, you already messed with that, and then feel like, now I can think of a series of videos I want to talk about to explain that to people. Because it's still, it just drives me nuts when people are like, yeah, I think this stuff fits. I'm like, so I'm starting naming some themes out. Where do you see that in these movies? That's not even talking about them being good or bad. I'm just talking about,
right?
Did it justify its reason to be 7, 8, 9? Instead of just being another trilogy that could have been its own. If we take Leia, Han, and Luke out of that,
there's still Star Wars happening.
It's still Star Wars happening. People are like, oh, Palpatine's back. I'm like, what did that actually do to the story? At all? What did it actually do? Her learning that she was, man, I'm going on a rant. Nope. Stop. I can feel it. Maybe stop.
We need to have a show for just Rant Kenny, where he just goes on rants about anything he wants to.
Rant number. And I feel like people are going to really come away and be like, oh, he just hates I actually like a lot of the sequel trilogy. Except for Rise of Skywalker. Even my love of those movies, and even especially Last Jedi, doesn't do away with the fact of I just don't think it, So, okay, yeah, I'll stop.
The sequel trilogy is definitely a point of contention for various people, but it brings up a lot of questions about why did they make some of the choices that they made. But again, like you're going to talk about, there's more Star Wars beyond just Han, Luke, and Leia. Why didn't we really get a chance to see any more of that? Because that's what we wanted to see, or at least we wanted to see that. But this is an opportunity to see a lot more of that. And honestly, anytime they've been really bringing in character or focused characters besides that, I feel like they've done really well. I can't think of any stories that are based around characters that aren't part of that Skywalker legacy that are bad.
I mean,
yeah, see?
I have to imagine there's probably some that exist, but I'm not. Yeah, but
they've got a lot of really good characters outside of that, though.
Yeah,
and stuff that they're still bringing in, via the Mandalorian for whatnot. But here's another question we can talk about. As far as them choosing the format of bringing it in via comic books, how do you feel about that decision?
I think it's testing the water.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just saying okay, how do people resonate to this material, and if they do, then it might be a green light to if someone's like, hey, I want to do another Disney Plus show based off of that concept, or or the long shot theory, because we don't really know what Taika Waititi or if Rian Johnson's still going to get to do his trilogy.
Oh yeah,
we don't know when or what those are set about. So it is entirely possible that the High Republic is kind of a secret, oh, well, I'm glad y'all like that because, and whammo. Or
that's true.
Or maybe they'll get that info and be like, nope. Hey, you gotta tear that script up. You gotta
do it again.
But I mean, also, but to your point earlier about moving past the Skywalkers, that very well could be it as well. So maybe Rian Johnson gets to go pull a Star Trek Discovery and go 900 years in the future, which I think
that'd be dope.
I really think this franchise could use that. I mean, yes, Mando's good. I think the other shows are gonna be great and stuff. Hoping the High Republic materials and stuff that comes out is good, but you're just absolutely right. It needs a just stop.
Reset button somewhere.
Yeah.
Make it logical and make it at least kind of make sense. Does Star Trek Discovery's reset button make sense? Yes, but we don't really care because season 3 is really good.
Yeah, it's the reset button is no, it doesn't make sense, but we're okay with it because it did.
Yes.
I kind of felt it in the season, I was talking about it after the season, what had happened. I'm like, oh, okay, you got the crew back together. The plot makes no sense, but you got the crew back together, and then you gave us a reset. Okay, so now you probably have a good starting place to go in. Hence, now we're getting to reap the benefits of it. So,
Yeah, because previously they were all trying to like work within like the canon and try not to cross lines and blah blah blah, and they wanted to like write their own stories. They're like, no, let's just send them in the future. Then we can write whatever stories we want, and bam, we're done. Problem solved.
yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see Star Wars do that, but I do like them choosing comics to do this with because, if I'm honest, some of the best stories that I've been hearing about for the past like couple years now have been coming in comic form. As far as my favorite franchise, so like, I'm gonna reference a Skywalker in this, but the Darth Vader comics, y'all, they're so good. They're so good, and the stories about the stories about understanding who Vader is in the midst of like him being like Vader, like. You get to see like why everyone's terrified of him. You get to see the struggles that he deals with because he does have those emotional struggles still. Like,
have you read the one about the stormtrooper that tries to become his friend?
No,
or not become his friend. That might be a stretch, but just like he's a little more chummy, or he's a little more. It felt like he had a bond with Vader, and I forget what exactly pushes that to the limit, or ends up like stressing that. There's a YouTube video I was watching of it, so I was like, "Oh, this is really good."
Yeah.
Reading it. But yeah, I forget what finally made them come to head. But it's interesting. It's like, okay, so he can have a relationship with some of his underlings, and can he? Can he?
Can he though? Yeah, but we don't get to see that kind of depth in any of the movies or the other formats that we see out of Anakin. Like, we just don't. Or like, what is it? Shattered Grid? Y'all, if you have ever liked any form of Power Rangers in your entire life and you haven't read Shattered
that is
Grid.
Where we're going. I was like, wait, did we just switch to Power Rangers? We did.
Shh, just let me roll with this.
No,
if you haven't read Shattered Grid, you need to go read it because it is legitimately the greatest Power Ranger story ever. And it's also one of the best like nerd stories ever. It is very good, but it's basically about an evil Tommy that didn't ever turn good, and he took over his world, and he's like doing multiverse stuff. But what my point that I'm trying to get at before I go on a huge like Power Ranger like nerd fan, they have a lot of potential of what they can do and show in these comics, and I for one would love to explore more, have some really fantastic stories that they can spread out. And that they can have the space they need to write it. Because a lot of times what we run into with the movies is they don't have enough space to tell a really good story. That's honestly why the Clone Wars and every Star Wars TV show works so well. Because they had space to do it. So,
I'd agree with
we'll
that.
see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are like, man, I want to read the books, but I'm just not really like a book person, this might solve that problem for you. You can get a lot of really good stories in comic book form. I understand that that's like a different like medium to understand those stories through. So I will be excited to see what happens with it. I am probably going to start picking up the comic series once that releases. I'll probably wait for a few book reviews because I have 2 toddlers and trying to sit down and read a full book is a lot harder than sitting down and reading like a comic real quick. So yeah, I'm excited about High Republic. I think Kenny's excited about it too. More Star Wars is
apprehensive, but yes, exactly.
More Star Wars can be a good thing if done correctly, as we've seen this year. So we'll have to see what happens. But that's all we've really got for tonight. There wasn't a whole lot going on in the nerd world. Everybody was kind of on break for the holidays, so that makes sense.
Yeah. We're not ready to talk about these yet, but something I want to tease, because this is for both the consoles that were big impacts in Jerry and my life. I guess in separate ways. Because it's 2021, so in November this year, that means the GameCube and the Xbox came out in November of 2001.
Ooh.
And I know we probably have logged hours separately on both of those consoles quite a bit.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so much.
And I'm just like looking back for the games that came out in 2001. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I'm not saying gaming's not good now. But the titles we got during that time frame, like late 90s to like mid 2000s, is just some of the best games. Like if there's anything like we re-reviewed this year, Like I was just kind of looking for your list. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Combat Evolved was on. Smash was that out there?
Yeah, we might re-review that. We might stream some stuff this year. That sounds like a good plan to me. What's interesting that you bring that up, and this is totally in the area of speculation, which we don't usually do on any of our channels, but we'll do it a little bit just because there's not too much else going on.
Yeah, we never.
No, usually if we speculate, we've got enough confirmed sources to actually have some credibility to that speculation.
Yeah.
So Kenny's talking about those consoles have. Yeah. So Kenny's talking about the fact that we've got those 20-year anniversaries for those consoles. But what's interesting is I was thinking about the fact that there's so many games that I played on those consoles that have anniversaries this year, like on as its 25th anniversary this year, and there's been rumor that we're going to get some cool Pokemon games that we wouldn't normally get out of that. Halo Infinite's coming out this year. There's a new Tales game coming out for all you Tales of Symphonia lovers like us. Phantasy Star New Genesis is supposed to be coming out this year. That was the first big MMO I ever played, and it was amazing. And I'm really, really excited about New Genesis as a result of that. But there was a number of anniversaries and games that are coming out that were really big parts of that. I think Shin Megami Tensei was on GameCube too, and they're supposed to be getting some stuff this year. At least in the form of like
PS2, probably. Or
okay,
unless you're saying Nintendo's getting it, but it wasn't on GameCube. Unless
okay, I was thinking it was on GameCube.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking it was on GameCube, but even still, like I think Persona 5 Strikers is supposed to be coming out in like 2 months. There's a lot of stuff that harkens back to games from those days. Like, and we'll probably do some throwbacks and celebration of that.
I would not be surprised if we get some like really cool anniversary edition, like the Fire Emblem one I picked up. I would like to see more of that come out this year. You know, so if there's some Combat Evolved anniversary edition thing, like I know we already got the remaster, but if they just did like a reprint of it, it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna come alongside Infinite, or it would come out in November or something. And a Smash one would be good.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I doubt Nintendo will do it, but
they haven't even finished the Fighters Pass for Ultimate yet. It's not happening.
Yeah, but that would, God, we would lose our minds. Like
I would buy it instantly. There's a rumor that they're going to do like a remaster of like Red and Blue and like the old school like Game Boy games all in one package. I would lose it if that happened. I'd also probably stream Nuzlocke runs of that and hate my life. But for those of you who don't know what a Nuzlocke run is, it's when you decide to play the game on like what is hard mode and you only catch the first Pokemon from each route. And then if your Pokemon faints, you have to release it. Like...
That's rough.
I'm doing one for Sword right now, and I've already lost one run. Like
that's rough, buddy. Oh wait, there's a meme I meant to share with you about getting to the end and still having all these potions and items and like just refusing to use them. And like I posted a comment there. I was like, I'll die before I use a potion. And it feels like that run might be right up my alley.
Yeah, you say that, you'd be like, I don't want to use a potion, and then you're going to lose like an hour in. You're like, crap, now I got to start all over. Like, critical hits are scary.
I do that, though. I notice I catch myself doing that, where I'm just like, holy crap, I got like 110. Jesus. But I just like, refuse to use inventory.
Why do I have all this stuff?
Yeah. But I would say Dark Souls has broken me of that quite a bit. I was like,
oh, yeah?
Oh, you don't want to fix your health, huh? You just want to try to... It's like, yeah, I'm not good enough for that, like, no armor, just boxer and sword, helmet.
No. Can't do that.
I don't understand those people. Yeah, you people. Yeah, I said it.
Oh, y'all. Yeah, I can't do that. It's hard. Like, I'm struggling with getting through, like, our Jedi Fallen Order. Like, I could not do Dark Souls.
I still need to finish that. Oh, Squadrons.
Ooh, yeah.
Squadrons is what threw me off. Now, I know, people, I know
No,
it did
fair.
not come out at the same time, but by the time I picked up Fallen Order, it was already kind of been out for a little bit. But I also picked up Squadrons like a month later, and once that game, I was just like, X-Wing. So, yes,
all right, but we're getting into... I was going to say, we're getting into rambling territory. But yeah, so I think that's all for the show we've got tonight. Kenny, are you doing the Commandership show this week?
Yes, we will be back on our normal scheduled time, assuming no migraine headaches happening this week. So, Yes, folks. If you see a cancellation, it's probably not a schedule thing. It's probably health related. So to let you into a little bit of my life there. But.
Yeah, we want to take care of our people at the site, so we that's very important for all of us. Are y'all doing Red Shirt Rejects tonight or no?
No, we will not be doing that tonight.
Okay.
We probably won't release things that are going on Kyle right now until he wants that out. But having some, just having health issues across the board on the team.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, hopefully he gets recovered soon, and then hopefully be back next week. We'll just kind of got to see where he's at.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for this week tonight. We'll probably stream some games on the channel some point or another this week, and you can, if nothing else, you can look forward to the Commander Ship Show this week. This has been Kenny and Jerry, and we hope you guys have a good night. Bye.